We're opening up one of these today. Hello, welcome to Communication Q&A, and today I have a question about a really common speech habit coming our way from Melissa, who asks, "Hi Lauren, I saw your video on vocal fry and it made me think of a problem I've been having. A colleague told me that I often use Upspeak and it can make me sound insecure. I'll admit this isn't the first time I've gotten this criticism, but I'm not sure what they're talking about or how to fix it. Can you help me out?" Melissa from Melbourne. Melissa from Melbourne, thank you for asking this question. Just like vocal fry, uptalk is a really thorny but very important topic in speech and communication, specifically in speech patterns and vocal use. And it's one that just about anyone can benefit from understanding a little bit more so that they know how to control it and how to use it more appropriately. Upspeak is also called Uptalk, or its technical name, the high rising terminal. And what it is an upwards inflection at the end of your sentences. It can also appear in the middle of sentences, but generally speaking, when people are talking about problematic upspeak, they're referring to uptalk at the end of sentences. It's part of prosody, or the melody of speech, the different sounds and intonations that we make that actually helps us moderate the meanings of our words and lets us communicate things through tone rather than through words or language alone. Uptalk commonly indicates a question, something like, "Do you want to go to the Italian restaurant tonight?" That is an example of uptalk, but it can also be used to check for approval or understanding or agreement. "I think we should give this proposal a chance." Looking for approval and agreement. You can also use it to show uncertainty. It's very, very useful when we want to indicate that we're just not sure about something that we're saying. From what I understand, the study said that the participation rates are actually declining. Not sure, right? And it can even be done to indicate that we're not done speaking, that we're not completely finished our thought and there's more that's coming, a sort of verbal ellipsis. When Upspeak is used purposefully and for reasons like what I just discussed, it's incredibly useful. It has very, very clear meaning and it can actually help other people understand us more easily. But when it's not used for those purposes, that's when it becomes problematic. If it sounds like we're asking a question, but we aren't, the listener will misunderstand and might try to give us an answer when we never wanted one in the first place. That can create a whole host of communication misunderstandings. If we're trying to come across as authoritative or decisive, like we really know what we're talking about, but we're constantly lilting up, making it sound like we're seeking approval or looking for someone to say, "Yes, you're right," that's really going to undermine that feeling of authoritativeness or decisiveness. And of course, if it makes it seem like we're not done speaking, but we are, we effectively leave the other person hanging, wondering if there's something more to come and uncertain on how they're to respond to us. That can be really aggravating in terms of back and forth communication. Upspeak can also often make someone sound more juvenile. Because younger people are often in positions that are lower on an organizational chart or in situations where they really need to seek approval from those around them, they're likely to express this approval seeking or this uncertainty in their position through more frequent use of Upspeak. So because of that, we tend to associate Upspeak with insecurity or uncertainty or even lack of authority. If you look at it this way, who are you going to trust more? Someone who says, "My name's Chris, and I'm going to be managing your organization's pension investment. It looks like you might be underfunded for a number of people who are retiring in the next 5 years, so I'd like to talk to you about ways of filling that gap." Or someone who expresses the same idea this way: "Hi, I'm Chris, your pension investment manager. It seems like your organization may be underfunded for the number of people who are anticipated to be retiring in the next 5 years. I'd like to talk to you about filling that gap." There's a big difference there, no? So why would someone who is secure in their position or an authority in their field or simply over the age of 35 engage in using a lot of Upspeak? Well, to be honest, there's lots of reasons why people may have developed Upspeak as a habit or use it as a problematic way. And to be honest, a quick Q&A video like this isn't the forum for investigating the psychological back alleys of problematic habitual upspeak. I will say, though, that both men and women use Upspeak appropriately and inappropriately. But what makes this issue a big can of worms is that women tend to get hammered much harder for the use of Upspeak. And talking about Upspeak, especially when women's voices are involved, along with vocal fry and criticism of our pitch, is used as a heavily gendered form of criticism. Now, sometimes critiquing a person on their upspeak is intentionally used as a way of shaming them into shutting up, and that's more likely to happen when women are criticized for it than men. But other times, it's a very well-intentioned and well-founded critique intended on helping the other person improve their communication impact and gravitas. So these gender politics can sometimes make offering or receiving feedback on Upspeak a particularly touchy issue. Now let's get back on how to actually manage Upspeak. So should you simply never use Upspeak? Do men get a free pass on it while women need to quash it out because we're criticized on it more often? Of course not. Upspeak is one of the many ways that we indicate intent and meaning. It's a really important part of our actual language and of our meaning forming. But you want to use it when it's meaningful and when it's appropriate. Otherwise, you run the risk of sending mixed messages or not being heard in the way that you intend. Everyone can benefit from getting a handle on their Upspeak habits and developing more control around their use of this very specific vocal intonation and inflection. Now, this can be easier said than done. I will fully admit it. Very often, we don't hear ourselves using problematic Upspeak because it tends to be habitual. It's a speech habit that's easy to detect in others, but when we engage in it ourselves, we just don't hear it. Now, if you're not sure whether or not you yourself are an uptalker or if your Upspeak is problematic, find a few trusted friends and colleagues, people who you know have your back, but who are also going to be honest with you, and simply ask them. Usually, when this is an issue, people are more than willing to point it out. Just be sure to ask people who you trust and, as I said, who you know are going to be honest. Now, if several of them tell you that your Upspeak is a problem or that you're using it too often or it kind of makes you sound insecure or juvenile, I strongly recommend taking a few steps to rectify it. And when you find yourself habitually using it when you shouldn't, I've got several suggestions for how you can get a handle on it. First up, be very clear to yourself on your overall intention when you speak. Are you looking to gauge understanding or approval in a group? Are you in a situation where you need to garner the understanding of other people and Upspeak is going to be a useful way of showing them that you're doing that? Then it might be appropriate. Are you asking a question? Of course Upspeak is going to be appropriate in that situation. Are you trying to persuade someone of your point of view? In that case, you might want to focus on declarative sentences. You might want to emphasize that you know what you're talking about a little more clearly by dropping your tone instead of lifting it. Do you want people to take action on a suggestion that you're making? Same thing applies. Make sure that you speak decisively and clearly. Next, I want you to focus on speaking in complete declarative sentences. Sentences that take a stand, make a point, and where the thought clearly finishes at the end with a really strong period at the end of that thought, at the end of that sentence. Visualize the period at the end of the sentence and speak slowly so you can pay attention as to where your thoughts are at any point in time. I want you to drive your energy and your tone towards that period, and then when you are done speaking, when you're ready to put that period on the end of the sentence, hit it with a very slight drop in pitch. This doesn't need to be a big or dramatic drop in pitch or tone. You're not trying to really go outside of your range or do anything silly like that. Just a slight drop in pitch at the end to show that you have finished your thought and you have made your statement. In the meantime, make sure you give yourself lots of air and lots of support through the core of your body. This is similar to what I recommended in the video on vocal fry. You need to make sure that you breathe frequently enough that you give yourself a well-supported, authoritative tone right down to the end of your sentence. A lack of core support and that feeling that you're running out of air, that you're squeezing the last few drops of air out of your body so that you can hit the end of the sentence before you reach the end of your air supply, can actually make you race in your speech. It can make you go faster, feel a little more uncertain, and is likely to trigger a little bit of an uptick in your tone, a little bit of a raise in your tone if you're a habitual uptalker. Now, please give yourself time with these recommendations. This is going to be a matter of mindfulness regarding your speech patterns and repeated effort to make these small adjustments and these small corrections throughout the day, whenever it is you're speaking. What you're doing right now is retraining a really ingrained speech habit that you've likely had for many years or even for most of your life, and it's going to take time and repetition to master this. You can spend dedicated time practicing this through reading out loud, through talking to yourself in the mirror while still paying attention to that specific upspeak pattern and working with the different techniques to quash it. And you can also work it into everyday speech. Every now and then, check to see how it is you're using your inflection and where the tone of your voice is going. And if you notice in a conversation that you are using a lot of upspeak, just make a concerted effort to do the opposite in the next few sentences. Pairing together deliberate practice as well as overall mindfulness is going to make it easier to incorporate this new habit in your day-to-day speech. There you have it, Melissa. I hope this helps you get your Uptalk conundrum underhand, and I hope that this helps out everyone who wants to imbue their voice with a bit more of that certainty and authoritativeness and gravitas that so many of us are looking for. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and while you're at it, head over to laurensergi.com and sign up in the pop-ups so that you can get my latest video and articles, as well as some truly excellent resources that I only share with my newsletter subscribers. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you on the next Communication Q&A.